I want you to think about the busiest person you know. The one who's always behind on emails, always in back-to-back meetings, always saying, "I've been absolutely slammed." Now answer this honestly. Are they rich? Because here's what I've noticed. The wealthiest people I've ever studied are almost never the busiest ones in the room. In fact, the more someone brags about how packed their schedule is, the more likely they are to be broke. That sounds backwards. It offended me when I first heard it too. But by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why busyness is not a sign of productivity. It is a symptom of a broken system. And more importantly, you're going to see the three-step framework a billionaire used to fix it. But first, I need to tell you about Ryan, because Ryan was doing everything right, working 100-hour weeks, saving every dollar he could, building his company from the ground up with his own two hands. And a billionaire looked at him and felt sorry for him. Here's why. Ryan ran a software agency in San Francisco. On paper, things looked good. He had clients, he had revenue, he had a team. But behind the scenes, Ryan was doing everything himself. The coding, the client emails, the invoices. He was even cleaning the office. He wore his exhaustion like a badge of honor. He bragged about his 100-hour weeks. He was the first one in and the last one out, every single day. And his logic made sense on the surface. By handling everything himself, he figured he was saving around $2,000 a month. Money he could pour back into the business. He thought he was being smart. He thought he was hustling. One evening, Ryan was invited to the penthouse of Julian, a billionaire venture capitalist who had built and sold multiple companies. Ryan arrived late, out of breath, looking like he hadn't slept in a week. "Sorry I'm late," Ryan said, still catching his breath. "I had to finish formatting a spreadsheet, trying to save on accounting fees." Julian looked at him for a long moment, not with admiration, not with respect, with pity. "Ryan," he said quietly, "you are not a CEO. You are a high-priced janitor who happens to know how to code." Ryan was furious. He'd built this business from nothing. Who was Julian to call him a janitor? But then Julian walked to the window and showed him something that changed everything. Julian pointed to a black sedan idling on the street below. "You see that car? I pay $5,000 a month for a private driver. My friends think I've lost my mind. I have a valid license. I have a garage full of luxury cars. By any rational logic, I should be driving myself." Ryan waited. "My commute is 45 minutes each way in San Francisco traffic. That's 30 hours a month. If I drive myself, my brain is locked into survival mode, dodging taxis, watching lights, reacting to the road. By the time I walk into a meeting, I'm already mentally depleted." Julian paused. "Last week, sitting in the back of that car, I made 3 phone calls and restructured a deal. That single ride earned $500,000. The driver charged me $50. He let that land. I didn't pay him to drive a car. I paid him to keep my mind empty. I was buying clarity. And clarity, Ryan, is the most expensive asset in the world because almost nobody protects it." Ryan stood there doing the maths in his head. $50 for the ride. $500,000 from the calls made during it. And he thought about his own morning, how he'd spent 45 minutes formatting a spreadsheet to save on an accountant, and arrived at Julian's penthouse, late, frantic, and mentally exhausted. Then Julian said something that I want you to hear very carefully, because this is the line that most people intellectually understand, but almost nobody actually lives by. If you spend your time doing work that someone else would do for $15 an hour, you are telling the world that your time is worth $15 an hour. You aren't saving money, Ryan. You are shrinking your own value. Think about what that means. Every time you do a task that a $15 an hour hire could handle, you are not saving $15. You are spending whatever your actual hourly value is to do $15 worth of work. If your time is worth $200 an hour, and most founders' time should be worth far more, then every hour you spend on admin, formatting, cleaning, or scheduling is not saving you money. It is costing you $200 in lost output and producing $15 in return. That is not hustle. That is one of the most expensive mistakes a founder can make. So Julian sketched out a system on a napkin, 3 steps. Ryan implemented all 3 over the following 6 months. Here's what happened to his revenue. Step 1, the bandwidth buyback. Ryan stopped doing everything himself. He hired a virtual assistant and a bookkeeper, not because he could easily afford it, but because he understood that every hour he reclaimed was an hour he could direct toward work only he could do. The $2,000 he thought he was saving by not hiring, within 60 days, the time he reclaimed had generated more than 10 times that in new business. Step 2, outsourcing the mundane. Ryan made a list of every task in his week. Then he drew a line. Above the line, work that required his unique skill, his strategic thinking, his relationships, his vision. Below the line, everything else. Everything below the line got outsourced or automated. Scheduling, formatting, research, follow-up emails, all of it gone. His calendar, for the first time in years, had white space in it. And here's what happened in that white space. Ideas, clarity, the kind of thinking that actually builds companies. Step 3, designing the experience. With his mental bandwidth protected, Ryan stopped selling code. He redesigned his entire offering into a high-end consultancy, one that sold outcomes, not hours. His pricing tripled. His clients got better results, and he was working a fraction of the time he had been before. 6 months after that conversation in Julian's penthouse, Ryan's revenue had tripled. He wasn't busy anymore, and that was the point. Now, here's the part I need you to sit with, because this isn't just a story about a software founder in San Francisco. Look at your own week, right now. Not your goals, your actual week. How many hours did you spend last week doing tasks that someone else could have done for $15 or $20 an hour? Responding to routine emails, doing your own bookkeeping, sitting in traffic when you could have been thinking, cleaning, formatting, scheduling. Add those hours up, multiply them by what your time should actually be worth. That number, that gap between what you produced and what you could have produced, is the real cost of busyness. This is what Julian meant when he said, "The poor sell their time to save money. The rich spend their money to save time." Busyness feels productive because it is exhausting. But exhaustion is not a measure of output. It is a measure of inefficiency. The most dangerous version of this is when you are busy with the wrong things and still feel proud of it, because the effort feels real, even when the results are not. Ryan felt that pride every single day for years, and it was costing him everything. Julian's 3 steps, the bandwidth buyback, outsourcing the mundane, designing the experience, are not complicated. They don't require a penthouse or a private driver or millions in the bank. They require one shift in how you think about time, not as something you spend, as something you engineer. That is what this channel is about. Not motivation, not hustle. The mechanics behind why some people build and compound, and why others stay exhausted and stuck. If you're not subscribed, hit the button below. because in our next video, we're going deeper into one of the most misunderstood concepts in wealth building, and I promise you, it will change how you read every situation you walk into. You've been watching the system long enough. It's time to start designing it.